A Chicago man nicknamed Papa is now a millionaire after winning $1 million on a 10 jumbo buck scratch-off. He bought the ticket from P&S Liquor Store on Irving Park Road and says he turned white as a ghost when he scanned it and saw the prize. Papa and his wife plan to use the winnings to help their grandkids with college and take a long-awaited trip to Europe. Congratulations to them. The store also gets a $10,000 bonus.
Nice.
Isn't that how kind to help the grandkids go to college? That is so expensive.
Oh, I know it. How many can you go to college for $1 million? You know, only a handful these days.
Right.
All right, let's talk about this forecast. Today we've got beautiful blue sky. You saw how busy it is out there at Cloud Gate. 54 degrees is our high today, so it is feeling fall-like, but it's nice. Tomorrow we've got more clouds, chance for a few scattered showers, mid-50s, then back to about 60 on Sunday. Next week, Natalie, mid-50s all the way through the end of the week.
Thank you, Caitlin. Make sure to tune in for Fox 32 News at 4, 5, and 9. Have a wonderful day.
Next up, working on for you this afternoon and evening, we will be chatting with experts to talk about a Quantum facility that is going up on the south side of the city. We are also going to chat with an expert at U of I who is breaking down a research microreactor that they are building on campus. It's going to be a learning opportunity for the students there. And later we'll hear from Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, along with Senator Dick Durbin, who are hosting various press conferences about ice and anti-ice zones in the city today. And I believe our first guest is ready to join us here. We are talking about what they are calling game-changing in the world of physics. This is going up on the city's south side. The groundbreaking happened actually last year when this was all announced, but we've got some new information this week because the Cook County Board of Commissioners approved a $20 million investment in Quantum and Illinois Quantum and Microelectronics Park. So joining us now is Susan Campbell, the director of the Cook County Bureau of Economic Development's Department of Planning and Development. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. So tell us a little bit, just first of all, about this huge investment that was just announced.
Thank you, Casey. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to join you. Yesterday at Cook County's board meeting, as you stated, the board approved the investment of $20 million into the Microelectronics Park on Chicago's southern lakefront shoreline. We're quite excited about this because we think this will be a game changer, not just in terms of the investment opportunity and the real estate development opportunity, but more importantly, it really helps secure Chicago's place in what is a growing economic sector of microelectronic computing. So we're quite excited about that.
Thank you, Susan. And it sounds like this is the future. Just talk a little bit about, what this means. I mean, people hear Quantum and we think, where do we even begin with that? But like you said, game changer in the world of physics. And this has been a long time coming, I understand, and it's going to take a long time to get it all up and running. But just kind of explain, how we are moving in this direction and why it's key to get in now.
So we're attracting national recognition right now. The Chicago region has been designated as a U.S. tech hub for quantum technology as part of the U.S. CHIPS and Science Act. And so Illinois also is a leader in private quantum investing with nearly $50 million in investment since 2018 and the second most deals after California. What that investment entails is largely, since our area is home to the Fermi National Accelerator Lab and the Argonne National Laboratory already, which launched what's called the QNext activity, focuses largely on making sure that there are facilities here that can help advance that physics work, that computing work, provide opportunities to the private sector for research at a much higher level from anywhere in the world. Major companies are taking notice. IBM and other quantum-focused companies are reportedly considering Chicagoland and have, made statements of such in the most recent past. uh, including manufacturers of specialized equipment and other semiconductor companies. If you get any further into the weeds with that, you're going to have to call in the experts, Casey.
And now, tell me a little bit, if you can, what you can explain about this cryogenic facility specifically, because what we understand, there will be several facilities within this larger facility, and there's going to be tons of scientists, tons of researchers. There's going to be a lot happening in one place. But what exactly is this cryogenic facility?
Right, so we call it a IQMP park, which at large, it's built on a 430-acre campus, as I stated earlier, along the southern lakeshore where U.S. Steel used to be located. The operations center, which we're calling Psi Quantum, is the anchor tenant of the IQMP. And most of the infrastructure on the site will largely look like office buildings. A cryo plant, which is what our investment will help to secure, is actually, let's see, I could call it a large refrigerator. It is the facility that will help keep the computers cool on the campus for the anchor tenant and hopefully for other tenants that are being attracted to the location. And without this cooling, they cannot operate.
And Susan, will this be drawing any lake water by chance, in this effort to keep cooling basically this massive supercomputer?
No lake water will be drawn, nor will there be water put back into Lake Michigan. The cooling actually occurs through a chemical reaction that converts helium and nitrogen, compresses it, and creates fluid or water. The cold water, which will be at close to a temperature of 0 degrees, is what will actually be used to cool the computers, much like you see the cooling coils on the back of your home refrigerator.
And let's segue now to talk about jobs and the economic impact. I read here in this press release that in the initial phase, it's going to create at least 150 jobs. What is this going to mean for people who, first off, maybe want to explore this sector, but also people who live in the immediate area? And years ago, this was the steelworks plant.
Right. So this area has a rich history of being almost like a company town with a huge industrial company and the many people who worked there living around it. And we really see an opportunity for that to be resurrected, if you will, in the sense that we have a large economic sector that this is going to anchor in the region of Illinois. But, the community that surrounds it will largely take advantage of the jobs that are there. We've started training with and having science fairs and really introducing what quantum computing is to youth, both every Saturday with something going on in the community with schools, working with the curriculums of elementary and high schools, and as well as Chicago State, so that students can begin to take the right coursework and curriculum so that they will be able to work on the site.
So just a couple more questions, Susan. Back years ago when STEM was introduced, and that was kind of a new thing, it was being introduced in schools and camps and high schools. Do you see quantum becoming basically the new STEM for kids?
It really could be, yes. And the exciting thing is that it's a global new STEM for kids. So they're not just learning something that's going to advance their work here in the country, but across the world. So we're quite excited about that.
One more thing, what is the time, if you can answer, what is the timeline on this? I know this is going to take years to build, but any idea of when we can expect this up and running?
Yes, so we're looking at about 18 months or so from now. The first building will be ready on site and operational. The equipment in which we are investing in has already been ordered actually, and should arrive early next year, where it will undergo testing and installation. So once that first building is in, then they will start to develop the rest of the components on the site.
Susan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to hear your insight on this complicated topic, but it sounds like all of us will continue to learn more about quantum as we move forward and see this get off the ground. Thank you so much for joining us. Now we want to take you to Philadelphia. We have some breaking news there where the FBI is announcing a major drug bust. Director of the FBI, Kash Patel, is expected to be speaking soon. Let's dip in there to that press conference and hear what is unfolding.
Targeted for maximum impact where it needed to go. As I said, at the heart of the opioid scourge here in Kensington. As of this morning, 29 defendants are in custody, thanks to a successful operation by the FBI and our other law enforcement partners. Throughout the course of the coordinated takedown, as well as the investigation overall, we've been able to recover dozens of firearms off the street, including assault rifles, seize substantial volumes of fentanyl and narcotics at locations associated with the defendant. This case takes place at the crossroads of drugs and violence, and we are all here with a loud and unmistakable message that we are reclaiming goods for the people who live and work here. We are taking back what the defendants are alleged to have stolen from the community, which is peace, prosperity, law, and order. As the director's presence here today indicates, this case is special. It's one of those few cases which, if successful, will eliminate an entire criminal outfit. It will clean and cleanse a whole neighborhood and will virtually eradicate a violent drug trafficking organization root and stem. To be clear, every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. An indictment is only an allegation. And this indictment alleges that the Weymouth Street drug trafficking organization, for nearly a decade, sold and distributed substantial volumes of fentanyl, crack cocaine, and heroin, mostly in the 3100 block of Weymouth Street. They made their living in one of the most notorious and prolific segments of an open-air drug market here in Kensington. They ran it like a business, but they also ran it, as the director alluded to, by violence, by fear, and by threats. They enforced their territory through the threats of assaults, shootings, and murder. They threatened anyone who talked to or cooperated with law enforcement. They were armed. The indictment further alleges that this DTO was led by Jose Antonio Morales Nieves, aka Flaco, a 45-year-old man from Puerto Rico, but a frequent flyer here in Philadelphia, who essentially owned the 3100 block of Weymouth Street and allowed other members of the DTO to sell drugs on the block in exchange for a payment of rent. He was joined by Roman Montañez, 40-year-old from Philadelphia, who essentially ran the day-to-day operations of the Weymouth Street DTO. He collected revenue, he organized the schedules of the workers, and orchestrated a pretty sophisticated business enterprise that peddled in poison. He also was responsible for procuring the drug supply for the organization. And on that score, I'll note that the indictment alleges that this organization did not care how dangerous the drugs were that they peddled to customers. Mr. Montañez wanted it as strong and as powerful as possible. In fact, the indictment alleges that at one point, one DTO member ignored the nature of the drugs they were selling, and yet the DTO continued to sell it day by day, month after month, for nearly a decade. Fortunately, both of these men and most of their compatriots are now in the custody of the FBI, awaiting federal prosecution. I encourage all of you to read the indictment. It is now unsealed, and I couldn't possibly encapsulate and summarize all of the offense conduct in just a press conference, but it is truly staggering. As I mentioned, this case is special. I, as the U.S. Attorney, obviously represent the office and I lead it, but as a career prosecutor, I'd be remiss if I didn't give true credit where it belongs, which is to the line prosecutors and agents who built the case. And you only build a case like this with skill and ferocity and day by day working it up to build a case that truly makes a difference. A case that is a long-term, comprehensive annihilation of a criminal organization. Those don't come around a lot. And I'll also say this couldn't be done without Commissioner Bethel and the Philadelphia Police Department. when you have a case like this and you have a significant federal indictment, I sometimes think there's this misconception that is a purely federal case. And that's just not true. You can't build a case like this of this magnitude and scale without the support of the Philadelphia Police Department. You can't do it without the resources they provide, and more importantly, the intelligence. And on that score, while I have everyone here, I'd like to talk about this case, but also...
All right, so you were just hearing about a major drug bust in Philadelphia's Kensington section. We will bring you more on that later today, but for now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, a new research facility at U of I. Welcome back to Chicago Live. Shifting gears now to the University of Illinois. The university is the first in the U.S. to partner with a company called NANO Nuclear Energy, Inc. to build a research microreactor on campus. So what does all of that mean? Well, joining us now is the founder, executive chairman, and president of NANO Nuclear Energy, Inc., Jay Yu. Jay, thank you so much for joining us. So talk about just how impactful this is going to be, being the first university in the U.S. to partner with your company, and what does this mean?
Thanks for having me. NANO Nuclear Energy is a vertically integrated microreactor company, and we're partnered with the University of Illinois to build the first microreactor on a university campus in the U.S. We're very proud of this. And what this means is in a few years, we'll be able to generate energy that could be deployed to the university and also to the public as well. So we're going to be building it on its campus. And today was a big event for us. We had our ceremony for drilling. We're partnered with AECOM, where they're going to come in and drill. And we're going to use that data to submit for a construction application with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in Q1.
Yeah, really exciting for you guys having that groundbreaking today. Were you on campus for that? Tell me just what the energy was like if you were there.
Yes, we had a huge ceremony. We had stakeholders. Some of our advisory board leaders were here who are former U.S. national leaders, like General Wesley Clark, who's a 4-star general and former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO forces. We also have Vice Admiral Joe Leidig. So the U.S. military needs this and for energy independence, for energy security. And we had a a large amount of media there as well. So I think Chicago, Illinois, Champaign, I mean, the country needs this, the state needs this as well.
And Jay, Illinois currently has 6 nuclear power plants generating more energy than any other state. Will this make it a 7th, or because it's a microreactor, will it not count toward a full running power plant?
Yeah, it is a power plant. It's just a micro power plant. And microreactors are categorized as 20 megawatts or less. So you're looking at, it is a full power plant. It's just a miniaturized one where we can, once again, make it extra safe. Nuclear is already safe, but our technologies have no liquid coolant. So they can't melt down. Even if you shoot a rocket at our field, it just passively cools. It would never blow up. So this is the new nuclear technologies that NANO Nuclear is building in the state of Illinois.
Super cool. And where are you guys based? I saw you have some facilities in Tennessee, one in Oak Brook as well?
Yes. Yeah, so Oak Brook, we recently acquired a 24,000 square foot dual use engineering and development facility. That will be used to put together our flagship Kronos micro modular reactor, which is being built on the campus of University of Illinois. And then, we have other facilities, but our flagship and our home for our technical use is in the state of Illinois.
And Jay, what made you guys choose the University of Illinois? Do you have personal ties, or was it the first university willing to play ball?
Yeah, so we actually at NANO Nuclear acquired this technology. So it came along with a package deal with the University of Illinois. So we reestablished that. We are now heavily investing into that, and we're hiring, hundreds of high-paying jobs in the state. The governor and the state has recently given us a $6.8 million grant and incentive to help create jobs and to help build up the technical teams here in the state of Illinois.
And what about for students at U of I who are going into this field? Will there be any research opportunities for them, whether it's undergrad or grad school, but for them to really get hands-on here once this plant is up and running?
Yeah, great question. We are leveraging the engineering department at the University of Illinois. So we have that collaboration going on. So human capital in engineering, whether it's mechanical, nuclear engineering, is very important to us. So having a pipeline from the university of graduates that we could hire is a big plus for us as well. But that collaboration is definitely important for us for the future of building this reactor.
And kind of explain in a nutshell how the technology works, how the power plant is going to work to help power parts of campus when it is all said and done.
Yeah, so it's a 15 megawatt electric output. And the goal here is to create the reactor in or around by 2030. And with that, the technology, we use no liquid coolant, is a high gas temperature reactor. It's a well-known technology. We're essentially miniaturizing it and using the next generation of nuclear fuel that, once again, it's coated with tank armor. So there's so many parts of it where it's safe. We call it a walk-away safe reactor because, once again, it just passively cools into the environment. It will never melt and explode like the larger civil nuclear reactors. So that is our technology, and we're very happy with what's happened so far in this state and what's going to happen on the campus of University of Illinois.
And Jay, if for those who are watching who are familiar with the campus, where exactly will it be situated, and how big is it going to be when you're just walking around campus? Will this be something you notice when it's done?
It doesn't have a huge footprint. So it's right by the current power plant, the Abbott power plant. So it's right adjacent to it. And we're going to be leveraging the existing facilities and the power plant there at the University of Illinois. So it will only take a few acres And right now we're drilling. So we're now going out under there and looking at site characterization. But it won't be that noticeable. Like I said, it's part of that whole infrastructure of the power plant. So it'll just look like another building, a part of the whole scope of the power plant.
And finally, you mentioned 2030. Is that when everything will be done, hopefully construction-wise?
Yes, we anticipate by early 2030, we will have a fully constructed Kronos micro modular reactor on campus that will be powering with an output of 15 megawatt electric and 45 megawatt thermal. We're really excited about this, and we're well funded. So this is not if it's going to happen, it's about when it's going to happen.
And then one more thing, you mentioned 15 megawatt. How many homes, how many buildings? Like, explain the scope of how much that can power.
Yeah, so if you want to just put it in perspective, 15 megawatts would power roughly about 15,000 homes. So it can power industrial sites.
Wow.
It's great for military bases that want to be off-grid, natural disaster relief, island communities. So being able to keep things off-grid is very important, especially for the military right now and their front lines, because the war has changed and it's all about drones these days, right? So they want to be able to power their drones in their front line.
J.U., thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to following the progress of that site. We're going to take a quick break, and coming back, we will have a check of the forecast. Welcome back to Chicago Live. Caitlin Cody joining me now to talk a little bit about the weather. Looking outside, it looks great, but we know it feels a little cold. The coats are out for the season.
Jackets are out. Look at this. How busy.
Beautiful.
It is. It's really nice. I love this shot because you can see the sky and the reflection of cloud
That
gate
is cool.
there.
Yep, and the sun.
Yeah, so temperatures are going to be in the 50s today, just like yesterday. Typical normal high today is 60, so we're not too far off from where we should be, but this morning we had the frost, we had freeze going on in Chicagoland, and again tonight we could be seeing frost. Temperatures hovering around freezing even for a few of you too. So it is going to get chilly again tonight, but really tomorrow we're back to the mid 50s again. So yesterday, today, tomorrow, we're kind of on repeat. The difference between today and tomorrow is we're going to have a little bit of rain in the forecast.
Okay.
So Saturday is going to have the clouds building, even starting tonight. Chance for a little bit of light rain around by late tomorrow morning, and then through the afternoon, scattered showers are expected on and off. Highs at 54, so still about 6 degrees below normal. Then on Sunday, it'll be drier. We're going to have more sunshine and highs near 60, some of us in the low 60s, southwest. And then next week, we kind of get into a bumpy pattern where we have the chance for rain. We have a few showers around Sunday night, and then again Monday afternoon, on and off Tuesday and Wednesday. Temperatures next week staying in the mid to upper 50s, so a long stretch of that fall feel. Lows in the 40s for the most part next week, highs in the 50s. So for this weekend, if you're thinking about what you want to do, you know, it's the week before Halloween. Yes.
It's 1 week from today.
Right, yeah.
So maybe a couple pumpkin patches this weekend, but it sounds like Sunday might be a better day.
Yeah, Sunday's going to be better for outdoor
there's gonna be
activities. If I had to
rain.
pick one of the two. What are you doing this weekend? Anything fall
So we
like?
have a wedding tomorrow to go to at 10 a.m.
Okay.
A 10 a.m. wedding. Yes, I've never been to a wedding so early.
I love that.
But I'm
Great.
hoping it'll be maybe brunch or lunch food.
Yeah.
We will see.
Mimosas.
We're gonna wing it because we're like, well, how long is it gonna go? Is it gonna
Right.
go all night? So we will be at a wedding, but actually part of it is outside. So
Oh,
hopefully,
okay.
fingers crossed, that the rain kind of
Well, if it
holds
starts
up.
at 10 a.m., they might be able to get it in before the rain
Okay,
even gets in.
good.
Yeah, so the coverage of rain is going to be increasing throughout the day. In the morning, around 11 to 12, we could see a few showers around, but as we get later in the day, we're going to have more widely scattered showers.
Okay,
expected.
good. How about you? Any outdoor activities this weekend with the kids?
Birthday party tomorrow, and then today we're doing trunk or treat, which we were talking earlier. Trunk or treats are starting to happen. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. And
Fun.
really for the kiddos, you know, mid 50s. I'm trying to think of what they should be wearing. I do think maybe a light jacket would be
Right.
necessary.
So looking ahead, maybe it's too soon to talk about it, but next week
Right.
on Halloween, are we thinking maybe snow, or do you think we're in the clear?
You know, look, highs are in the 50s through Thursday. I don't expect. I mean, extended outlooks did show the 40s returning, but that's not snow weather.
Okay,
Our typical
good.
for snow is on Halloween.
Right, around
Which is
Halloween.
wild.
Yeah.
I guess it's not too crazy since we did have that frost and freeze this morning, but we're looking okay. I think
Okay,
at this
good.
juncture, 40s and 50s, that's doable. And, you know, layering up, sure, but I don't think it's going to be a miserable Halloween
So
this year.
maybe, yeah, throw on like a thin hoodie for the
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
under the costumes,
Yeah.
or a turtleneck, something like that.
Layered up like we do best in the
Okay,
Midwest.
good. We know. Yep,
Yeah.
we're pros at it. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much. We will all hopefully enjoy our beautiful weekend.
have a good weekend, you guys.
Even if there's a little rain. Thanks for watching, and stick around because we have much more coming up after this quick break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. We are going to be joined here momentarily by Democratic State Representative Reagan Hatcher, who represents Gary, Indiana. Now, right now, there are several counties in Illinois that want to join Indiana in a remap, essentially. But this state rep is going to be explaining why she might want to join Illinois. So joining us now is Rep. Reagan Hatcher. Thank you so much for being with us. So first of all, explain to us, how is this even possible? And is it a possibility that counties in Illinois could actually leave and join Indiana? It sounds like Indiana saying, hey, come on over, but Governor Pritzker said that's not happening.
Yeah, thank you for having me today, especially to talk about this important issue. This was House Bill 1008. This House bill was presented last session in 2025 in our January to April session. And what it said was that we're going to take on these counties in Illinois that feel disconnected from the overall state government, and they can become a part of the state of Indiana.
Wow. And do you think, so what happens next? I mean, it has to go through the whole process, right? But how likely is it that this could happen? And how many counties are we talking? Did I read 33 Illinois counties have passed advisory referenda to secede correctly? I mean, 33, that sounds like so many.
Yeah, 33 counties have passed these kind of referendums that say, yes, we would like to be a part of this. However, it would take the legislative body of Illinois to vote for that and approve for this to happen. So I think it's very unlikely that it would happen. My opposition didn't necessarily come from Illinois coming over to Indiana. It came because being in a Democratic district in the state of Indiana, in Northwest Indiana, I felt oftentimes that Northwest Indiana and Indianapolis are underrepresented in the state house, and that our voices aren't necessarily heard on a regular basis. And so for the legislative body of the state of Indiana to reach out to these people in the different states to say, hey, we understand your pain, we'll take you in, we get it. It was a bit disheartening for me as a legislator here in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, you're saying kind of this is a two-way street here. There was a meeting this week. Tell me a little bit about what happened during that meeting.
Yeah, so there was some people that spoke. This was the first meeting of the Illinois Indiana commission that was created out of 1008. And there were some people there that spoke against, there were some people there that spoke for it. But ultimately, it comes down to Governor Pritzker and the Illinois state legislative body to take it up or not take it up. And the truth is, Northwest Indiana, with all our steel mills and all our industry here, Indianapolis being the main source of business in the state of Indiana, they are the biggest tax drivers for the entire state. And what we learned about these 33 Illinois counties is that they are basically underwater. They do not create as much revenue for the state that they take. And so for us to say, okay, we're going to ignore or not give Northwest Indiana and Indianapolis the same type of attention or representation that we're giving these outsiders, while Northwest Indiana and Indianapolis basically carry the state on much of the tax revenue, again, disheartening.
And what have you been hearing from your constituents? How do they feel about this? Has your office been getting calls? And if not, I assume those calls are going to start soon.
Yeah, our constituents want representation in Indianapolis, and we've had a number of times where Indianapolis and the state legislature have butt into issues dealing with Northwest Indiana, tax reductions, education reductions. They have inserted themselves into actual lawsuits with the state of with the city of Gary against gun manufacturers, and have killed that lawsuit for the city of Gary. So they're very in touch with what goes on in Northwest Indiana, but not in a way that is as supportive as I think they could be.
And talk a little bit more about just what you're doing for your constituents.
Yeah, we're always fighting. I have a great group of Democratic brothers and sisters in the state house that we all feel the same pain. The things that we encounter here in Northwest Indiana are the same things that are encountered in Indianapolis and also South Bend. Especially right now, we're in a big fight about redistricting and how we do not want to redistrict in mid-decade. So we're working hard on that. But the constituents in Northwest Indiana are such a dedicated and resilient group of people. And every time we reach out and say, hey, we need you at the State House. Hey, we need you reaching out. We need you to reach out to these other legislators and tell them to vote no for this or vote yes for that. They are in the fight with us.
So opposite ends of the political spectrum here, or, different ends, but do you in a way relate to those counties in Illinois that say, hey, I don't feel like we fit with this state, we want to move over? Do you feel kind of in a way that you feel that way, wanting to possibly move to Illinois?
Yes, and I think that was one of the things that I said in my floor speech, that if those counties get to move here because they are more the camaraderie is there with the state of Indiana for them, and they believe in the same things and they have the same ideas, then why can't Northwest Indiana move into the state of Illinois? Because we definitely feel more connected to the Chicagoland area than we do this Indianapolis or Indiana area. So yeah, I did say that, and I don't know what would happen if that actually went through, because as I said at the beginning, much of the tax revenue from our steel mills and our industry here along Lake Michigan and Indiana is what drives the Indiana economy.
Okay, and you mentioned the redistricting. So that typically happens, with each census, not set to take place until 2030, but there's, yes, like you mentioned, that effort underway to do it mid-cycle. Where does that stand right now, and how do you feel about that effort to redistrict in the middle of the decade?
So here in Indiana, 7 of our 9 federal representatives are Republican. So we have 2, and those 2 are out of Northwest Indiana and Indianapolis, those same areas that we were talking about. And so it's so difficult to understand why those areas are now under attack. We're obviously predominantly Democrat areas. And we deserve a Democrat representative to represent us in Congress out of the state of Indiana. Right now, we're waiting to hear if we're going to be called into special session or not. I haven't heard anything one way or the other yet. So it's kind of a waiting game for us.
Okay, and finally, is there another meeting on the books in terms of the counties wanting to move? We had that one meeting this week. Is there another date set? How long until it's rediscussed?
I'm not sure if there's another date set, but I know they had to have one meeting per the legislation by mid-December-ish. So I'm assuming this was that meeting. I don't think there's really anything else to meet about until we learn what the state of Illinois is going to do.
All right, Indiana State Rep Reagan Hatcher, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick break. Much more news when we come back.
Welcome back to Chicago Live. I will take over for the next hour or so. I am Tia Ewing on this amazing Friday afternoon. Maybe you're watching right now and you're like, TGIF, we have finally arrived. Yes, it is Friday, and we want to have a very fun conversation. Last season, we followed along with the Olive-Harvey women's basketball team, the Panthers. They had an amazing season last year. And we're expecting nothing short of what happened last year to happen this year as well, and even better. We have Coach Jeff Dillard and returning player Khadijah Phillips, who's actually the cousin of WNBA star Anissa Morrow. Thank you both so much for your time today and being with us. How you feeling? Smile. It's Friday. So let's talk about...
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Last season, I was out there at Olive-Harvey, I think a few times, covering the games, and you did make it to the championships. And here we are today. Let's talk about what happened last season. What was your final record? Because this year, you're now in the rankings for the NJCAA. Talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, last year we had a wonderful season. A lot of hard work. We went 33-2 and made it to the national tournament. That was a first for us, a first for the program. And it was just exciting. It was exciting to be there. It was a great experience, and we're just hoping to continue to build on from there. And we have returning sophomore Khadijah Phillips, our point guard from last year. So that's a big plus, being able to have some returning players. Last year, we had a brand new team, so having 5 sophomores come back this year has been really good for us.
Yeah, so you're not rebuilding from the total beginning here. Khadijah, let me ask you, last year, I know we were there with the cameras. There were a lot of stations there in town that would show up for some of these games. What was that like, having a spotlight now shining on your team, whereas before you were doing amazing, you were having these games, you were playing very well, but maybe not the spotlight on you guys the way you truly deserved. How did it feel, and how do you feel coming into this season?
It actually felt really good. We was able to handle the adversity and be able to just play as a team and stay connected together. Coming into this season, we're looking to work very hard because we know it's a lot of tension on us still. So we're looking to work very hard and not take no days off.
Let me ask you this part, because last season when I was following you guys, I remember talking to some players, they were still working. I think people get it twisted. When you look at some of these D1 schools, the students, they're getting a stipend, right? They're getting everything kind of catered to them. This isn't that situation. A lot of hard work goes into what you're doing, not just on the court, but off the court as well. Walk me through that.
Absolutely. So off the court, we really take schooling serious. We always got to stay on top of our books because that's the only way we're able to get on the court. Outside of schooling, they do have Olive-Harvey provide financial aid, and they give us jobs that we can work at the school. So we really had no reason to stress or anything else.
Coach, this year, I'm hoping that we get back out there and cover some of your games. Tell me, your first game is actually on Halloween, October 31st. Who are you playing, and what are you expecting to do out there on the hardwood?
We're headed to southwestern Michigan to take on the Road Runners, and they're a great program. We've split the series. They got us the first year, and we were able to win last year. It's a really tough team, and they have a brand new coach. This coach is coming from Chicago. She was at Governor State, so I know she's excited. She's been working hard, and we're doing the same thing. We're not taking, like Khadijah said, we don't give them a lot of days off, and we don't really want to put the pressure on them from last year because we have 5 returning players, but it's still a new team, and we want them to have their own identity and just start their own history. So we're looking forward to this Halloween matchup in southwestern Michigan.
How easy was it for you recruiting this time around? I know you had, I think you said 5 returning players, but having a season like the season that you had, this was unprecedented. How easy, or did it make it easier for you to be able to go out there and recruit some players?
I thought it would have been easier, but it wasn't. And for whatever reason, I don't know if some people didn't want that pressure. Just looking like, man, those girls were tough. and just seeing the amount of players that graduated, I think there are people that say we don't think they're going to do it again. That was a fluke season. So we still had to do the grind, work with recruiting, get out to these schools, and majority of our players are coming from out of town again. So we have players from Virginia and Kentucky, Orlando, Florida. We were able to get good players. We got 2 transfers, but it was still a lot of work this year. But I'm confident. I'm happy with the crew we have. 15 talented players, and they all have the same goal, and they want to work, they want to advance, they want to go to the next level for your university, and they're gelling. A lot of them are young, so experience is going to be a factor. It can be a factor. We hope it's not, but it can be a factor, that the experience or the lack of experience. So we're just trying to get them as many reps in practice as possible and keep practice intense.
So you had the wins last season, but you didn't have the rankings. Tell me, when you saw those rankings come out and you saw where you placed, and I want you to talk about where you placed as well, how did it make you feel? And then how did you have that conversation with your players?
Well, it was actually a player, a senior, that sent us her recruiting profile. And she was congratulating us on our ranking, and I was like, "What ranking?" And so I went on the website and clicked, and I'm scrolling. I'm like, "Oh yeah," she didn't know what she was talking about. And I got to 25. I'm like, "Oh wow!" And it was a really big deal. I know last year we were ranked like 189th or something like that. So, but out of 221 Division I teams to be ranked in the top 25, that's huge. It's huge, and I know. Majority of the votes came from what we did last year. So I do want to congratulate that team from last year. And sometimes we do have to stop and just take stuff in, because I'm like, yo, that's from last year. Let's keep going. But you do have to stop. When people take the time to appreciate you, you have to take the time and take it in. So I did share with our team. They were excited. The coaches were excited. And that just gave them a little bit of motivation. Like, okay, we're going to stay in that 25. And we want to climb. We want to keep climbing. So it turned out well for us. It turned out well.
I have 2 follow-up questions to that. Has that ever happened, that Olive-Harvey was ranked that high? And then secondly, in terms of those rankings, are there any other schools within our particular city that are also on those rankings, and are they higher? Or is Olive-Harvey the highest Chicago junior college that is now on that list?
Yeah. So I know under our current athletic director, when he was checking everything, we know the women's team has never been ranked that high. I do know the men a couple years ago, they got some votes, but I don't think they cracked the top 25. So we might be the first program in the school's history to be ranked that high. Currently, there are no other city colleges ranked that high, but I have seen all the schools have been working. They all have been recruiting. It's going to be a real tough season and real competitive. And I just think the city is going to really surprise a lot of teams.
I got to ask Khadijah you this question because, there's a different sentiment. When you're playing for a team or you work somewhere and maybe that company or whatever has won an award or has some type of recognition, same as playing for a sports team, it now has a different recognition. There's a little something that comes with that. There's a little bit of a flex in some ways. How are you feeling? How are your teammates feeling that, this isn't, I'm just playing, you're just playing for Olive-Harvey. You can't just say that cavalier in that way anymore. No, I am playing for the, Olive-Harvey. How does that make you feel now?
It actually made me feel really good. When I first walked into Olive-Harvey, we really didn't know what to expect, but we know we was gonna come in and work hard. And we had a lot of people down us. So when we came in and had the season that we had, it made us stand tall and hold our heads high. And ever since the season ended, that's what I left with is I'm coming back to work hard, and stay with our head held high. And I told the incoming freshmen that, like, we're going to have a long season. We got to work. we're not going to put too much pressure on it, but we're going to stay in the gym and active.
Coach, are you guys playing any of the teams throughout your regular season that you faced in the tournament at all?
So we have 3 out-of-town trips, and I know they're going to be very competitive. We're looking at John Wood. We might face a couple teams down there, and then we're going. I'm not sure of the school, but it's closer. It's in the St. Louis area, so it's a chance we might run into some teams down there. But even in our region, we have to go back through Triton and Malcolm X and those schools. So it was a tough road to even get to nationals last year. And whenever I look back on it, it's amazing that when you look at it like that, it was a lot of tough teams to get through. So we really just starting with our first game and just taking it one game at a time.
Well, Coach, we wish you all the best of luck. I definitely got to get back out there, cover one of your games. It was always a good time to see the crowd's reaction, especially, when you're used to, you go some of these other schools that are within the Chicagoland area, they're used to at night, being featured on the news. They're used to seeing a news camera there. And unfortunately, Olive-Harvey hadn't gotten that same recognition, but that's over now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this new season kicks off. We hope to be there for it, and we wish you all the best. Khadijah, it has been a pleasure speaking with you, and Coach Dillard, the same. We wish you all up. I don't like to say luck because I don't really believe in luck. I believe in God, but I wish you all the best and prayers for safety, staying healthy. That's also very important throughout your season. And we will see you soon. We hope to have you back on when you're like midway through and it's your record is something in O. That will be like the best conversation that we can have. So thank you both. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Next time, you make sure you bring your gym shoes to the gym.
Oh, yeah, because I tried to.
On the court with your high heels on.
I did that on purpose because I know I have no game, so I figured nobody would ask me, if I'm wearing 5-inch heels, and unfortunately that didn't happen. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't profess to be a player, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Have a good weekend, you two. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Too. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you again. Hey, stay with us right here on Chicago Live. We are grooving on this Friday. We'll have much more right on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. We are at the top of the hour, 2 o'clock on your Friday afternoon. You know, medicine can be miraculous and also innovative, and this is one of the many stories where it really proves to be true. Let me kind of set the stage for you so you understand what we are about to delve into. So this is what we got. This is coming from Northwestern Medicine. Botox-like substance. This is the headline, brings relief to Ukrainian war amputees. So injections were made around nerves and it eased phantom limb pain more than standard care 1 month post-treatment. This was a study that was done and it involved 160 amputees treated at 2 hospitals in Ukraine. And this is just remarkable what this study found. I want to bring in for the conversation the senior study author, Dr. Stephen Cohen. Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for your time and talking about something that is just really remarkable when you look at what you found in this study. Let's start right there. How did this study come to be, and really how was the study then carried out?
Sure. Thank you for having me on. This is important to me. So I have a son in the infantry. I'm a retired Army colonel. I do clinical research. I'm director of pain research at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. So when several doctors from Ukraine contacted me about the problem of post-amputation pain, I responded, and to make a long story short, I went into Ukraine and I hosted the largest medical conference in the country since the war began. And afterwards, when I met with, people from the Department of Defense, they wanted to include, Ukrainian war victims in some of our studies. So we have a study examining different treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, to design studies, but also to look at what they were doing and to see if there was a signal that it could be effective.
Talk about this part. So I'm reading this and it says post-amputation pain affects most amputees. So someone watching right now, maybe they've never been in a situation where they've lost a limb. Explain what that post-amputation pain really is.
So post-amputation pain is really a symbol, is really a syndrome. So there are different causes. You can have pain in the stump or residual limb that results from scar tissue, from severed nerves. You can have phantom limb pain, or pain that's experienced in the phantom body part, the leg that's no longer there. And that can also be from, the cut nerves. That could also be from like reorganization in your brain. So your brain has a representation of your entire body. It's called the homunculus. And, parts of your brain are used to getting signals from your legs or your arms all the time. And when you no longer have an arm or a leg, your brain changes. So maladaptive, changes that happen, or, failing to properly adapt. So having like a mismatch can result in phantom pain as well.
I would imagine, doctor, that by not having that limb and then experiencing this pain, it would make it very difficult for prosthetic use, for mobility in general. So tell me how this Botox-like substance helped so that people could maybe be fitted for prostheses, to be able to maybe move an arm, move that actual limb that isn't there anymore, but have the prosthetics there to assist them along the way.
So that's a great point. So, pain in the stump or phantom pain that's caused by these, cut nerves can really interfere with a patient's, ability to use or to wear a prosthetic. So botulinum toxin, has been studied for many different types of neuropathic pain, or pain that results from nerve injury. And most of the studies are positive. What it does is it inhibits the release of transmitters that are involved in pain. But what these studies have generally done is they've given the botulinum toxin like in sensitive areas, so just like under the skin, subcutaneously. Some have injected them into muscles. But what we did that was unique is we injected the botulinum toxin, or Botox, around the cut severed nerves, like the sciatic nerve and the femoral nerve. This is very similar to like epidural steroid injections. So if somebody had sciatica and they had inflamed, irritated nerves, you could give oral steroids or IV steroids. They don't work that well, and there are a lot of side effects. But if you injected them epidurally around the injured nerve, you can reduce the dose, reduce side effects, and have better and longer lasting effects.
So this study was published this Tuesday in the Journal of Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. The study, how long was it done for? And then my follow-up to that is, in terms of these injections that you spoke about, these Botox-like injections, do you have to continue getting those?
So these are great questions. So we followed patients for 3 months, and what we found was that botulinum toxin injected around nerves, and also sometimes in the sensitive skin and muscles, was better than very comprehensive medical and surgical treatment at 1 month. But at 3 months, it was reversed. So comprehensive medical and surgical treatment is better. And this is very consistent with the findings from other studies that show that botulinum toxin definitely works for nerve pain, but it lasts in most people between 70 and 80 days.
Does this open the door for this to be used in any other avenues now as a result of your study's findings?
Yes. So, like I said, botulinum toxin has been shown to be effective for a wide range of pain resulting from nerve injury, including diabetic neuropathy and post-herpetic neuralgia. So it could be used to treat these conditions, especially conditions like pain after shingles or post-herpetic neuralgia, where it's specific nerves that are involved. The other questions that we're hoping to answer, and we actually have some of them, but they're not published. What is the effect of repeat injections? Because anyone who's gotten botulinum toxin or Botox for anything, even wrinkles, it has to be repeated. So is the effect the same? Does it decrease? Or is it cumulative and increases? The second minor point that I want to make is because of how botulinum toxin works, it's possible that you have additive or even synergistic effects with other treatments. So like this is very similar to the approach that's advocated for chronic pain in general. It should be multimodal and interdisciplinary.
So with that being said, it sounds like you're not ruling out the possibility of future research of this botulinum toxin. Am I wrong in that?
No, you're right. We're looking at other treatments injected around the cut nerves called neuromas, and to see how they work. We're looking at that in Ukraine, and then we're also looking, and we have preliminary results about how the course of pain in the stump, residual limb pain, and phantom limb pain impact psychiatric measures like anxiety, depression, and quality of life.
Which makes sense, because now, maybe you're not having that pain as much, and you're able, if you have prosthetics, you're able to have a little bit more mobility than prior. So that makes sense. I do want to ask you a question related, but at the same time, a little unrelated. You said that you spent time in Ukraine, you went there. Can you just walk us through, what you saw? We've had people on our show over the course of, what has transpired there with the war. What did you see when you were there? And really, maybe you can explain what made you decide that this was something that you wanted to study and do to improve people's quality of life?
Sure. just to provide perspective, and the figures really vary dramatically between what's reported by the Ukrainian government, what's reported by NATO, but I think most people would agree that there's now over 100,000 war-related, amputees in Ukraine. So to put this in perspective, throughout the entirety of operations Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom meaning Afghanistan, there were about 1,750. So this is a huge problem. And, chronic pain, including from, amputation, especially in young people, it leads to all sorts of problems, psychiatric problems, substance use problems, relationships dissolve, people can't work. So, I've done clinical research for a really long time. I'm president of ASRA Pain Medicine, which is the largest, pain organization in North America. And, this is very important to me. It's important to me, as a physician, scientist, and also as a former military member who has a son in the infantry.
Well, I want to first of all thank you for your time today with us in explaining this study, which is really remarkable. But I also want to thank you for your time in service. So thank you so much for your service, and your son for his service as well. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. And as this study sounds like it will progress, that there will be further study and research done, we hope to have you back on our show. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great weekend, Dr. Cohen.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Okay, we're going to go to a live event. Governor J.B. Pritzker is celebrating the early completion of the Kennedy Expressway. Of course, if you had to go that way at any point, you will not forget it. It was standstill at a lot of points during that rehabilitation project. We're going to have that live event that is underway right after this break. Welcome back as we approach 2:15 on your Friday afternoon. As promised, we told you Governor J.B. Pritzker is celebrating the early completion of the Kennedy Expressway rehabilitation project. That press conference is now underway. We know IDOT officials are speaking at the podium. We want to take a listen. Let's listen in together.
The Expressway throughout this. We appreciate your patience and understanding, and we are open for use, and we so appreciate your patience along the way. So thank you. And so then I want to hand it over to the person that really does make it all possible, that placed a bet that we could deliver on infrastructure, and we have. Please allow me to introduce Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Thank you so much to Secretary Buzasi, and good afternoon, everyone. We can do better than that. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Love it. Thank you so much, and really, it makes me so proud to be the leader of a state where we are delivering on revitalizing our transportation systems, and we're not just delivering; we're delivering it on time. In fact, early. And I want to thank everybody in the room for that. I am very pleased to be celebrating the completion of another major infrastructure project for the state of Illinois. This is yet again one that was completed in a quality fashion, done by quality people, working together, collaborating, and making it happen for the people of Illinois. With a project of this magnitude, it is that collaboration, the passionate, dedicated individuals all pulling together in the same direction. And I want to thank so many of you who are here. And of course, you heard the names from Gia a bit. I do want to recognize that that doesn't happen everywhere. There's, sometimes infrastructure projects in other states get delayed because people aren't willing to work together, or because the folks who are working on it aren't union members who know how to get things done in a quality fashion. And I want to, as a result, start by thanking and recognizing the men and women of organized labor who put their shovels in the ground and shoulders to the wheel to get this project done early. They are the force that makes a whole lot of things happen in this state. You are the folks who do deliver in a quality fashion. It's your talent, it's your skills that make sure that we have quality roads and bridges and ports and airports and all the things that we're building and rebuilding in the state. And I'm very proud to be working with all of you, and of course represented by Bob Ryder, who's behind me. I think you're going to hear from him from the Chicago Federation of Labor. So congratulations to all of you, and well done. I want to thank the folks from the General Assembly that are here. You don't get things done without leaders that you send to Springfield to work with me. Leader Ram Vilivalam, Senator Lakeisha Collins, Representative Jamie Andrade, Leader Evedina Delgado, and of course the others across the state who aren't here today, but who helped to deliver on these investments by passing the Rebuild Illinois plan back in 2019, and then continually re-upping as we announce our multi-year plans each year, this one being the largest ever in the history of the state. I also want to recognize our local partners, particularly my friend Alderman Burnett, and of course the Chicago Department of Transportation Commissioner Craig Turner. Again, nothing gets done unless we collaborate at every level of government, and particularly a project of this importance. And finally, to every Illinoisan and every out-of-town visitor who endured the traffic while we made this crucial progress for the state, thank you. At a time of historic division in our politics, there is one idea that we can all rally around, and that's traffic sucks. But these improvements were vital to make, and it was an investment in our future. Thank you for your patience. We'll have safer roads, we'll have faster commutes in the long run as a result of this. I often have said that when you see an orange cone out there, slow down. I'm sorry you have to slow down. And in general, sorry you have to put up with orange cones, but I'm not sorry actually, because this is about building the state for the next 10, 20, 30 years. What you've done by completing this project is going to be lived and part of people's lives for so many years to come, and it will make their lives easier and better. So thank you for making all that happen. From the beginning, I have worked with the General Assembly to make rebuilding our infrastructure one of our state's highest priorities. Years of neglect and deferred maintenance have left our roads and bridges crumbling, and every region of the state was suffering from it. Our people were less safe, our communities were less connected, and our businesses less productive. Rebuild Illinois sought to change all that. Our bipartisan capital plan is one of the most comprehensive in the entire nation. We passed it before the federal government ever got around to it. The biggest plan in the entire country. In fact, the Secretary, I'm surprised she didn't say it here, but we had the largest plan, larger than California,
Larger than Texas, larger than Florida.
larger than Texas, larger than Florida. People don't believe that, but that is true. And we did that before the federal government came around. $45 billion for the state of Illinois, $20 billion from the federal government. We're rebuilding everything across the state. Rebuild Illinois sought to change the direction of the state, and it has. Our bipartisan capital plan it really has allowed us to meet the size and scale and scope of the problem that we were facing. It's a plan not just to rectify the shortcomings of the past, but to build something truly better for our future. So what you see at the Kennedy Expressway rehabilitation is the embodiment of that vision. These structures were over 60 years old and hadn't been rebuilt for over 30 years. A road of this importance that everyone drives, being in the condition that it was in, was a symbol of the broader problems that our state used to face. Delay and inaction being the cause of those problems. And it was also a major inconvenience and safety hazard for drivers. So what you see today is something that we can all be very proud of. 275,000 vehicles pass through the Kennedy Expressway every single day. That is hundreds of thousands of workers making their commute, parents taking their kids to school, delivery drivers moving freight, tourists coming to see Chicago. We have just made all of their lives and their drives faster and easier and safer. 1 million square feet of high-performance latex concrete was poured, which is enough to cover Millennium Park twice over. 16 new overhead sign structures were added or replaced, which stacked on top of each other would be taller than the Willis Tower. A total of 1,200 new LED light fixtures were installed, one for every seat in the Chicago Theater. Think about that. I mean, folks, this is a major project that you have accomplished. Now, sometimes when we do these things, we're talking about a beautiful new park or bike lane or a fancy rail station. This is not one of those times. It isn't the flashiest project when we talk about rebuilding roads, but it is one of vital importance to us all. That is the essence of what Rebuild Illinois is really all about. It's doing the gritty, foundational, and absolutely essential work that provides for economic growth and safety and a better quality of life for everyone. Now, I've been up and down the state over these last few weeks, as I have over the last 6.5 years, but lately, and I was here in Chicago and Quad Cities and Metro East, I've been checking out all the incredible progress that we've been making on projects just like this one. And the word transformation comes to mind. Big things have happened to vault our state forward, and this is one of the biggest. There is still a whole lot more work to do. Our newest multi-year plan is the largest in our history, in the history of the Illinois Department of Transportation. That means more projects to undertake, more communities to revitalize, more jobs for folks who are wearing orange today, and the opportunity to truly create something great. So I look forward to seeing all of you at more events like this one as we continue our top-down revitalization of Illinois' infrastructure. So thank you all again, because our hard work today, the hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans that will use this Kennedy Expressway will have a safer, faster way to get around every day, and they'll be thankful to the work that you've done. So with that, I want to express my gratitude and my pleasure to hand this podium over to a true leader for organized labor, a true leader in this state, and that's the president of the Chicago Federation of Labor, Bob Reiter. Bob? Behind you.
Thank you, JB. My name is Bob Reiter. I'm president of the Chicago Federation of Labor. The CFL represents nearly 300 unions that in turn represent 500,000 working people in Chicago and Cook County, the hometown of the American labor movement. I'm a third-generation member of the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 150. if it weren't for projects like this that my dad, who was a backhoe operator, worked on, I likely wouldn't be standing here today. The amount of hours that workers can get in order to pay for their health insurance, help their kids pay for college tuition, is immeasurable. Not only does rebuilding the Kennedy help our members who drive to work every day, who commute, but it also helps our members that get to deliver on the investment of building important infrastructure like this. And let there be no doubt about it, the greatest infrastructure in this country is centered right here in Chicago. And if it weren't for hardworking construction workers like my dad, I wouldn't be standing up here with an opportunity to do things like fight for democracy in our country today alongside of leaders like J.B. Pritzker. So thank you, Governor, for everything you do to help create jobs and protect the citizens of Illinois. Under Governor Pritzker's leadership and the General Assembly support, we are rebuilding Illinois, and doing so with union labor, creating good jobs for working families while ensuring the projects meet the highest standards that the public expects and deserves. In Illinois, we understand union built is a stamp of quality. And as we do outreach across all of our communities here in Chicago to bring people into the labor movement, we train them at state-of-the-art facilities where we invest in the people that make this city work every single day. The 275,000 daily drivers on the Kennedy can expect a smoother, safer ride thanks to the foresight of our state leaders and the hard work of Cook County union members. Congratulations again to everyone who worked hard on this project, but especially thank you to the tradespeople, from the operating engineers to the laborers, the carpenters, the iron workers, the cement finishers, the electricians, and on and on and on. Thank you for what you do to help build our communities every day. I'd now like to introduce a very good friend of mine and the chair of the Illinois Senate Transportation Committee, Leader Ram Villavalam.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be with you all. Ram Villavalam, State Senator for the 8th District on the northwest side of Chicago and Chair of the Senate Transportation Committee. I want to start by first and foremost thanking Governor Pritzker, Secretary Buzasi, all of the team at IDOT, all of the organized labor workforce that has worked on this project to get to this point and this culmination. Safety is our #1 issue. We want to make sure all 13 million people in the state of Illinois are safe and healthy at every day, all year round. This project embodies that principle, embodies the importance of making sure people are safe as they get to their school, their doctor, their job on a daily basis. There's never, as we talked about Rebuild Illinois in 2019 when I was first sworn in, there's never a moment any constituent of ours should be wondering, well, how safe is that road or bridge? It's not a question we want them asking. And it's because of the organized labor workforce today, because of the leadership of Governor Pritzker and Secretary Buzasi, we are able to make sure that question isn't asked as 275,000 cars are utilizing the Kennedy. I also want to just make sure I heard, I've had 7 years of sound machines for my kids. Secretary and Governor, you said this got done early, right? Was that early? Okay, let's give them a round of applause for that. Where credit is due is where credit is due. When we voted on this legislation, it was challenging. There was a lot of conversations. Because of all the parties involved, we got it to a bipartisan place, historic level of funding. But I'll tell you what I always say, voting on pieces of legislation like this are incredibly challenging. The execution of legislation like this is even more challenging. And so I just want to reiterate the work that they did to get this done and to make sure that our roads and bridges are more safe as we go through this, as we go through the year, is incredibly gratifying as someone that voted on this legislation who, in voting for it, told our constituents we're making a promise to make our roads and bridges safer, and now we are delivering on that promise. So thank you again for everyone for their work on this. And I also will tell you that, as the governor well knows, nothing can get done without 30 and 60 in the Senate and the House, and colleagues like Senator Lakeisha Collins were also very instrumental in making this happen. Senator Collins, please join me at the podium. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Again, I am Lakeisha Collins, State Senator of the 5th Senate District. I'm going to brag a little bit. 5th Senate District is one of the best districts in the state of Illinois, may I add. It's also a transportation hub. It's like a connector. You can get to any expressway, bus line, you name it. I want to start off by saying thank you to our secretary and to the IDOT team, and especially to the workers. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to this project. Thank you to President Ryder. Thank you to my colleagues in the House and Senate who make this job so much easier. I am a very pro-labor person, but I will tell you I understand the importance of making sure that workers are put to work. And it is because of our governor, J.B. Pritzker, who continues to stand on the front line, who is bold, who is a visionary, who is unapologetic. And no matter what challenge we are facing, he is always going to stand up for the people here in the state of Illinois. So please give a round of applause again for our governor, who I have the honor of serving with. And then also to my new alderman, Alderman Red Burnett Jr. But no, this is a modernization and rehabilitation project that represents a major, major milestone. This work is part of the state's Rebuild Illinois capital program, which continues to build the largest infrastructure investment in Illinois' history.
So we've been listening in to this press conference where they are obviously celebrating the early completion of the Kennedy Expressway rehabilitation project. We've heard from the governor, we've heard from the secretary of IDOT, and you may be asking the question, what is early? Well, it was supposed to be that it would be completed in late 2025. So not quite the end of the year just yet. Of course, we're going to keep listening in, but we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chicago Live, 2:35 on your Friday afternoon. I don't know about you, but I get a little more pep in my step when it's Friday. We want to go back to the press conference where we've been listening to officials across the state talk about the early completion of the Kennedy Expressway project. And by early, again, it was supposed to be completed by late November of 2025, right before the Thanksgiving holiday. And here we are on October 24th, talking about the completion. If you're like me, like a lot of people, had to sit in this traffic. So let's listen in a little further. We want to get to where they're taking questions from the press. We're going to continue to listen in. Let's listen.
And the governor's investment in our area, we were able to catch that carjacker because of that camera. So it's, and that's thanks to IDOT. I will be remiss if I don't mention the patience that IDOT employees have had with me when I used to have Old Irving Park in my district, and the number one complaint I had was pigeon poop. Besides traffic sucks, pigeon poop sucks too. I'll tell you that much. That's one of the biggest things, and I want to thank the contractor for putting back all the pigeon abatement at Irving Park Blue Line Station, because that was the biggest concerns my neighbors were having. They're like, Jamie, all that time that they spent, they tore it all out. I said, listen, it's going to come back. Don't worry. So I'm very grateful that we have a governor who's a leader, who built this rebuild project. You know, it was $169 million to repair 36 bridges. I don't remember if some of you remember, some of these bridges were falling apart, and one time one of the pieces fell on a resident, on our constituent driving through the highway. So it's not just that lives are protected. We also have Scott's Law to protect our workers, my fellow union members. As a member of Local 2 Stagehands, there's nothing prouder that I am now also a union member. So I want to thank you guys for all the work that you do. And here, I use the highway all the time because after this, I'm on my way to O'Hare to work at the Hyatt over there with my other job. So remember, for the public out there, please drive safely and watch out for our workers. Scott's Law, there's a purpose for that. So, thank you very much. And now we have Alderman Burnett. And I work with your father a lot, and I'm very proud to have you come after me, and for younger people to come and lead us now into the future too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Hello, everyone. My name is Walter Redmond Burnett, Alderman of the 27th Ward, and I want to welcome you to the 27th Ward. Thank you to Governor Pritzker, to Secretary Gia, to Bob Ryder and the Federation of Labor, to Senator Villarreal, Senator Collins, my state senator, and appreciate all that you do. This is a huge project and a huge partnership for the state of Illinois and for Chicago. The Department of Transportation, both at a state level and at a city level, created a lot of great work in order to get this project done. The Kennedy Expressway is the road that moves people forward. It's a vital artery that keeps people coming to Chicago every day, and especially to the 27th Ward, where people should come more. It really does connect our neighborhoods, and a lot of Chicago was built on the infrastructure in the 20th century, and it's time that we have modernization and repair to some of these critical roads and bridges throughout the entire city. So I really want to give a thanks to Governor Pritzker for making sure that our state highways, bridges, and roads are continuously being redeveloped so that we can continue to build a better future for Chicagoans who want to call this place home. And so to the laborers, I appreciate you all for all the work that you do. It takes a really skilled labor force in order to get this project done, and to get it done early is no small feat. So you all are really the backbone of what keeps Chicago going forward. And again, thank you to everyone who have decided to come here and celebrate with us in the 27th Ward. I will now invite Governor Pritzker back up to give his questions and answers.
Thank you. Happy to take questions. Dan Petrella. Well, I think, you know, for years, actually, the Illinois State Board of Education has worked with schools to help them prepare for these kinds of things. That's the attack, I'll use that word, by ICE or the federal government coming into schools. Schools now are prepared for, you know, soft lockdowns. They know how to prevent kids from being taken out of schools. And then you've seen lots of neighborhood programs that have developed to support the parents also. So, you know, those are all things that are in effect. We're supporting the organizations at the local level, as you know, that are warning people when things are happening in their communities. And so that entire system that's been put together is one that the state continues to support. So we think that's the best way to go. Remember, very importantly, I think one thing we learned during COVID is that remote learning really has a deleterious effect on kids' ability to get the kind of education that they need. And so we want to do everything we can to keep kids in school where they are safer, frankly, than when they're wandering around in the community. And so that's what we're focused on, is making sure they get the best education possible, and that's really done in the classroom. Yeah, again, we're supporting a lot of local organizations that are doing, in fact, that work. What we don't want to do is have, for example, police officers taken off the beat to protect people from violent crime or to go after the bad guys when we can actually rely on communities. And I think you've seen this at our houses of worship, at our schools. People are gathering in communities. The number of whistles that have been sold to people who are walking around and ready to blow the whistle when they see something bad happening in the community because there's a federal agent wandering around stopping people because their skin is brown or black. The number of people that are trying to protect and do their, I think, civic duty has grown exponentially, and I'm really proud of that and proud of the people of Chicago and the entire region. Yes, sir.
I got a question for you, then follow up from the secretary, if I could. I should admit on this story I'm totally biased because I drive the Kennedy and the Tri-State every single day.
Yes, sir.
Help people understand why the last few years have felt particularly bad on Chicago roads for construction projects.
I can't, I mean, you're saying something that I think is just broad. I think, look, anytime, I know you've talked about when we had a project that went long. I hope you'll recognize that this one isn't going long. But I will say just, and I'll let the secretary also answer, but I just want to say we have been doing a lot of construction across this state. I think, you know, all the workers certainly know that. We've hired a whole lot of people to help do that. And that has slowed things down. It just has. I'm not talking about slowing down the project's completion so much as I am talking about traffic gets slowed down. You got to, you know, take over lanes that you wish you didn't have to. And then, of course, we're upgrading so much about the system. It isn't just about paving. And so I would just say that it is challenging. As you know, there's the joke for you know, that we're all aware of, you know, which is there are two seasons in Chicago. There's winter and construction. And that, you know, truthfully, the fact that there's some, you know, difficult weather often slows us down too. So those are just some of the things that I would point out to people who've had to put up with it. And of course, I acknowledge that in my remarks about, you know, things getting slowed down. But we are really now in a position where things are going to speed up significantly. But happy to have you.
Yes, sure.
Is there a better way? Like, explain this to me like I'm an idiot, which don't comment on
You
that.
said it, I didn't.
But is there a better way, right? Like 24/7 shifts, flooding the Kennedy with workers around the clock. Explain to people why that doesn't happen.
Well, it does, and that's why this last phase was faster than the previous ones. And so one of the things we did was look back at the last two phases and say, okay, can we run more shifts? Can we flood the construction zone? How can we do that in a safe way? We also wanted to make sure that we are being more transparent about what was happening too. I think that's also challenging. When work's happening underneath the structure, it can feel like there's no work happening to the structure. And so we also tried to make sure and worked with the media to let you know what's going on. We also looked at how we stage things in previous phases too. Again, a lot of this is some of the technical work that the team does, but to say, well, how did we stage on phase 1? Could we stage differently? What's the sequence of ramp closures? Could we do them as a cohort? Can we do them, in different spots that are a little more strategic? So we are actually, one, learning from the work we've done in the past, but then applying it here. So all the things that you mentioned are things that we've tried and I think successfully completed in this phase. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Over, under, or on budget, and what was that figure for the entire project? The second part of that, while the project did end a month early, the portion from 2023 ran over time by several months. So the response to that?
Yeah, so we're around 170 million. We'll get you the exact figure, no problem. And thinking about the different phases, I think is important when we talk about how the last phase took a little longer than this phase. It was a different kind of project. So phases 1 and 3, so year 1 and year 3 were most alike because we were dealing with the outside lanes. It's those reversibles. I mentioned the REVLAC. Those are much more complex to address. And in fact,
so again, you were listening to the Secretary of the Illinois Department of Transportation. They're talking about the early completion of the Kennedy Expressway project, supposed to be completed literally right before Thanksgiving Day. Today, almost a month in advance, they are announcing its completion. We're going to have much more right here on Chicago Live, including everybody needs a little love, right? Apparently the moon does too. And we're going to talk to an expert on astronomy and astrophysics. All about it right after this break. Welcome back to Chicago Live. Okay, so this is a really interesting topic. When I first read it, I had to ask the producer, Jim, is this real? So yes, it is. Apparently everyone needs a companion, and that includes the moon. What we have learned is that the moon has picked up a new tag along in space. It is called, this asteroid is called 2025 PN7. It's officially been called a quasi-moon. It was discovered by the University of Hawaii, and we want to bring in Derek Buzasi. I hope I got your name right. Correct me if I got it wrong. Buzasi, who is a senior instructional professor in the Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics at the University of Chicago. Okay, so first thing on the list, make sure I got your name right. Was I close?
Oh, you were close. It's Buzasi. So if you pretend there's an H tucked in there, then you got it exactly.
Got it. Buzasi. Okay. Well, we thank you for your time today. This is really interesting. Is this the first time that the moon has had a companion like this? And what does it mean to be a quasi-moon? So similar to the moon, but not the moon.
Right. It's not the first time. And really there's two kinds of moons like this. There are these things that we call mini moons, which are actually sort of orbiting the Earth just like the moon and are captured by the Earth, and usually temporarily. They're all fairly small. And then there are these quasi-moons, and these are in orbits that are very like the Earth's orbit. So they're not really orbiting the Earth, but the Earth's gravity is kind of helping to shepherd them a little bit. You know, when you think about the orbit of something, you want to characterize it. How big is it? What is its shape? Is it circular? Is it all stretched out? And how is it kind of tilted with respect to the Earth's orbit? And all of these quasi-moons, all of those parameters, you know, the shape, the size, the tilt, are close to but not exactly the same as the Earth's. And so they kind of tag along with us. Sometimes they're a little ahead, sometimes they're a little bit behind. So they're not really orbiting us, they're kind of following along with us. And what's keeping them in that area of space sort of near us is the Earth's gravity kind of shepherding them around a little bit.
Now, you said this is temporary. So how long will this tag along situation last?
Well, it's hard to tell exactly, but you know, we would guess in this case, as sort of an educated guess, is probably tens of years, so maybe 50, 60 years, something like that. So it's temporary, but it's, you know, a human lifespan basically, so it's not that temporary.
So walk me through, how does this happen, and really what is the purpose of this quasi-moon?
Well, purpose, I don't know. They really don't have a purpose, they just are. But they can come from different places. So they can come, for example, you imagine like a big asteroid hits the moon, which still happens from time to time. And then there's the material sprayed out from the moon, and that material can sometimes end up in orbit around the Earth, just like the moon is. And we've only had 4 of these little mini moons before, and one of those seemed to have that origin. This one looks like it's just a captured asteroid. So there are belts of asteroids around the sun, orbiting the sun just like planets. The biggest one is out between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, and there are literally millions of them, all small rocks to sort of mini moon-sized things. And this looks like it's one of those that got captured. And we just guessed that based on the velocity that it has and the kind of shape of the orbit that it has. Is more likely to have come from outside in the solar system than it is to be been captured from our moon.
I know we've been talking about size, and I want to put this into perspective and compare it to something that people can understand. So it's estimated to be only 18 by 36 meters wide, and they say that is about the height of a small building. So if we're talking about perhaps in the city of Chicago, that would typically be a 6 to 10 story apartment or condo building, maybe with a little retail space on the bottom, maybe even perhaps a rooftop or terrace on the very top of the building. Is it possible at some point, could something come along that is big enough to block out the moon or possibly even the sun?
Not likely. I mean, the moon is is obviously quite large in the sky. You'd have to bring something in really, really close. I don't think you're likely to get something that's that big. And these things are small, which makes them hard to find, but we're getting so much better at finding them. And that's kind of why you're starting to hear these stories more and more. It's just that our ability to see them has improved a lot. If you go back 20 years, we would never have been able to see something this size. Now we can, and we're starting to detect them on a more and more regular basis. We have projects starting up that are going to map the whole sky in detail and depth, way beyond anything we've done before. And so they'll see even more of these things. So you can expect that there are more of these visitors. I'm sure they're there now. It's just that there are even smaller ones that we're not able to detect yet, but it's coming.
So when I first saw this and I was thinking about how did they see this? This must be some new innovative technology or something. I went to this one stanza within this that says this, which I find to be very interesting. The University of Hawaii team first spotted the object during a routine telescope survey earlier this year. What looked like a faint speck moving against the stars turned out to be following Earth's exact pace around the sun. Now, after weeks of observation, NASA then confirmed that the data was correct. Our planet had gained a temporary traveling partner. When we talk about telescopes, and people looking, into our Earth, looking at all of these objects rotating. Is this something that scientists are always looking for?
Sure, there are teams that are looking for this with great interest, not partly because it's scientifically interesting, but also in some cases these NEOs, these near Earth objects, are interesting in the sense that it would be bad if one of them hit us and we didn't know that it was coming, because even something the size of an apartment building, which compared to the Earth isn't very big, if it's moving at sort of tens of kilometers per second, tens of miles per second, which some of these objects are, and it strikes the Earth, that's a very big explosion and would be very bad. So there are programs underway to kind of try to map all of these and find them all, so we kind of know what's out there and whether stuff is going to come in to hit us. Now, I mean, for scale, to give you maybe a sense of how hard it is to do these things. So this one, which, as you said correctly, is like the size of a Chicago apartment building. It's about 100 million times fainter than the faintest star that you could see with just your eye, without a telescope. If you went to a really dark place, so not Chicago, if you sailed out onto Lake Michigan, or you went down into the depths of Iowa in the cornfields far away from anything, the faintest star you could see would be 100 million times brighter than this thing is. So it really is pushing our ability to find these very small, very faint objects.
It seems like as of lately, we've been talking about all these different discoveries, whether it's Earth or something involving Mars. Or why do you think we're talking about this so much more than before? Is it because of technology, or is it that more things are happening out there?
I mean, both, because the technology allows us to access the fact that more things are happening, right? I mean, you build a new kind of detector, a new more sensitive detector, you build bigger telescopes, you look at parts of the electromagnetic spectrum that you couldn't really see well before, but now we have telescopes to look at, and that kind of opens things up, and then you start seeing things that you didn't expect. I mean, the saying is the sound of discovery isn't necessarily what you'd expect. It's someone looking at something going, that's weird, I wonder what that is. And we're getting a lot more of that because we have this level of sensitivity and this new technology all the time coming online. So I think a lot of it is technologically driven at this point. And sciences, I think astronomy is one, but all of them probably are like this. They go through phases, right? There's a phase where people are busy explaining what they found before, and then you sort of start to get a handle on it. And then there's a new set of observations which says, oh, here's some new stuff or things you hadn't thought of before. And then the people who do the theory go to work trying to explain what it is. And I think we're in a kind of data-rich environment now. So there's more and more of this information coming in, and we're going to see more and more of these kinds of discoveries. And then we have to take some time to explain what they are.
Since you've been involved in astronomy and astrophysics, what is one of the most exciting, compelling things that maybe you've ever seen?
Ooh, I mean, for me, I don't work specifically on these kinds of objects, but I work on exoplanets some of the time. So finding planets around other stars. And so for me, one of the more exciting things was back when the Kepler mission, NASA's Kepler mission, was launched and was early on in its operation. We found one of the first planets orbiting a binary star. So we found the two stars orbiting each other, and then we also found a planet orbiting that system. And that was kind of miraculous and exciting. It's always exciting to find a planet, but this is one that, sort of reminds you of Tatooine if you're a Star Wars fan. And so, it was kind of exciting to see the science fiction turning into science fact when you find something that looks just like what you saw as a kid in a movie.
And are you talking about the Kepler Space Telescope?
Yes, I was talking about the Kepler Space Telescope.
Okay, yeah, launch date March 6th of 2009. Let me ask you, when you have these conversations and these new discoveries come about and you have these conversations with students, how do they respond to this? Because it seems like there's more maybe to talk about now than if you were a student 20 years ago.
I don't know if that's true or not, but we talk about different things now than we did before. I think there's always excitement. I mean, we're always sort of pushing the boundaries of what we know and what we understand. And so there's always excitement for every generation. But it is great to be able to talk to students about all of this stuff and to introduce them to all the excitement that's out there. One thing that has changed a lot since, say, I was a student is that, when I was a student, it was mostly American and European missions and spacecraft and instruments making all these discoveries.
It is in those shadows that we must leave our faith. These are lessons that so many Muslim New Yorkers have been taught again and again. And over these last few days, these lessons have become the closing messages of Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, and Eric Adams. Yesterday, Andrew Cuomo laughed and agreed when a radio host said that I would cheer another 9/11. Yesterday, Eric Adams said that we can't let our city become Europe. He compared me to violent extremists. And he lied again and again when he said that our movement seeks to burn churches and destroy communities. The day before that, Curtis Sliwa slandered me from the debate stage when he claimed that I support global jihad. And every day, Super PAC ads imply that I am a terrorist or mock the way I eat. Push polls that ask New Yorkers questions like whether they support invented proposals to make halal food mandatory, or political cartoons that represent my candidacy as an airplane hurtling towards the World Trade Center. But I do not want to use this moment to speak to them any further. I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. I want to speak to the Muslim who works for our city, whether they teach in our schools or walk the beat for the NYPD. New Yorkers who all make daily sacrifices for the city they call home, only to see their leaders spit in their face. I want to speak to every child who grows up here, marked as the other, who is randomly selected in a way that never quite feels random, who feels that they carry a stain that can never be cleaned. Growing up in the shadow of 9/11, I have known what it means to live with an undercurrent of suspicion in this city. I will always remember the disdain that I faced, the way that my name could immediately become Muhammad, and how I could return to my city only to be asked in a double-mirrored room at the airport if I had any plan on attacking it. And since I was very young, I've also known that I was spared the worst of it. I was never pressured to be an informant like a classmate of mine. I've never had the word terrorist spray painted on my garage as one of my staff had to endure. My mosque has never been set on fire. To be Muslim in New York is to expect indignity. But indignity does not make us distinct. There are many New Yorkers who face it. It is the tolerance of that indignity that does. Since I announced my candidacy for mayor 1 year ago yesterday, I have sought to be the candidate fighting for every single New Yorker, not simply the Muslim candidate. I've carried these indignities with me each moment of this race, doing so all the while as the first major Muslim candidate in the history of our city. I thought that if I could build a campaign of universality, I could define myself as the leader I aspire to be, one representing every New Yorker, no matter their skin color or religion, no matter where they were born. I thought that if I worked hard enough, it would allow me to be that leader. And I thought that if I behaved well enough or bit my tongue enough in the face of racist, baseless attacks, all while returning back to my central message, it would allow me to be more than just my faith. I was wrong. No amount of redirection is ever enough. In doing this, I have told the wide-eyed young child in Jackson Heights or the first-time voter in Parkchester that they too should remain in the shadows. In many ways, I have become that same uncle who pulled me aside 6 years ago. No more. The dream of every Muslim is simply be treated the same as any other New Yorker. And yet for too long, We have been told to ask for less than that and to be satisfied with whatever little we receive. No more. For as long as we have lived, we have known that no matter what anyone says, there are still certain forms of hate that are acceptable in this city. Islamophobia is not seen as inexcusable. One can incite violence against our mosques and know that condemnation will never come. Elected officials in this city can sell T-shirts calling for my deportation without any fear of accountability. The consequences amidst this inaction are stark. More than 1 million Muslims in this city existing all while being made to feel as if we are guests in our own home. No more. We stand on the precipice of an election, but that is not what today is about. We know that in less than 2 weeks we will say goodbye to a disgraced former governor and our current indicted mayor. The bigger question is whether we are willing to say goodbye to something much larger than either of these two men. It is whether we are willing to say goodbye to anti-Muslim sentiment that has grown so endemic in our city that when we hear it, we know not whether the words were spoken by a Republican or a Democrat. We know only that it was spoken in the language of politics of this city. In an era of ever diminishing bipartisanship, it seems that Islamophobia has emerged as one of the few areas of agreement. And while I appreciate all who have rushed to my defense over these past few days, I think of those Muslims in this city who do not have the luxury of being the Democratic nominee, who do not have the luxury of being deemed worthy of solidarity. While my opponents in this race have brought hatred to the forefront, this is just a glimpse of what so many have to endure every day across this city. And while it would be easy for us to say that this is not who we are as a city, we know the truth. This is who we have allowed ourselves to become. And a question lies before each of us. Will we continue to accept a narrow definition of what it means to be a New Yorker that makes smaller every day the number of those guaranteed a life of dignity? Will we remain in the shadows, or will we together step into the light? There are 12 days remaining until Election Day. I will be a Muslim man in New York City each of those 12 days and every day that follows after that. I will not change who I am, how I eat, or the faith that I am proud to call my own. But there is one thing that I will change. I will no longer look for myself in the shadows. I will find myself in the light. Thank you very much.
All right, just listening in there, Zohran Mamdani speaking out against Islamophobia, talking about his connection. Obviously, that very important in New York City. So many different people, so many different backgrounds coming together, and polls will begin. Early voting begins tomorrow, and this comes after some big news as House Minority Leader, the Democrat, the representative from New York, Hakeem Jeffries, backing him most recently. So that's a big development in terms of this race, as now lots of different Democratic leadership backing Mamdani as potentially the front runner to be the next mayor of New York City. I'm Andy Mack here on Live Now from Fox. A live picture there in Toronto at Rogers Center as batting practice going to be beginning in just a little bit. Some interesting news in terms of the Blue Jays lineup. Bo Bichette back in it, and back in a unusual position, to say the least. We'll have that and much more here on Live Now from Fox after this. All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. 4 hours and counting until Game 1 of the Fall Classic between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's Blake Snell on the mound for the Dodgers, Savage on the mound for the Blue Jays in this very pivotal series. And a lot going for both sides, but some big news here on Live Now from Fox that we're continuing to monitor. And of course, you can cast your ballot. Who do you think will win this series? Do you think it'll be the Toronto Blue Jays or the Los Angeles Dodgers? Open those phones, open those cameras, scan that QR code at the top right portion of your screen, and you can dive in. You can cast your ballot right now. Just a slim margin for the Dodgers, leading right now 51% to 49%. Will it be the United States? Will it be Canada? Will it be a repeat, or will it be an upset? So obviously lots of questions around this, lots of excitement. Rogers Center is going to be rocking after that 7-game series with the Seattle Mariners. George Springer playing hero in that, the final culminating game, de facto home run to send them to the promised land, to send them into that ALCS pennant title. The Los Angeles Dodgers, an historic performance for Shohei Ohtani in Game 4 to sweep the top-seeded Milwaukee Brewers on the mound and at the dish. 3 home runs to go along with 10 Ks against the Milwaukee batters. So impressive performances. You can continue to follow this. But as we were talking about with other reporters there on the ground in Toronto, some big news for the Blue Jays as they get one of their young stars back in the lineup. Bo Bichette back on the roster for the Blue Jays and back in the lineup as he will be in the cleanup role for them, playing an unusual position up the middle. Not shortstop, he'll be on the right side of second base. At second base, as you can see there, George Springer leading it off, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette right there in the middle, the heart of this order. So Blake Snell, a very impressive 21 innings so far, only 2 earned runs given up this postseason. So he'll have his hands full with this team, and the Achilles heel that might be the Dodgers bullpen. We'll see how the plate discipline for the Blue Jays, how they handle that in Game 1 to try to get to that shaky pen of the Dodgers. Let's take you right now out to some comments from Bo Bichette just a little bit ago, speaking to the media after being announced that he would be in the lineup tonight for Game 1 after being out for several months with a knee injury. Let's listen into this here on Live Now.
Left. Bo, how have you balanced during this postseason run the desire to get back versus the experience of watching your teammates go through this? Have you been able to enjoy watching, or have you been just so focused on the work behind the scenes to get back?
I think it was a challenging experience for me, for sure. But as much as I prioritize getting healthy, I also prioritize staying with the group, taking time to hang out with the guys in the clubhouse, and then making sure that my work was done before before the game started. And so I was able to be as locked in as possible in the dugout and, try and watch the game and stay involved that way. So yeah, it was definitely a challenging experience.
All right, we're going to quickly step away, and sometimes that's what we have to do here on Live Now from Fox, diving into all of these live events. Let's take you out right now to the White House. Stephen Miller talking with the media, answering questions. Let's listen in.
Wrongdoing. Any other questions?
Stephen, Doug Ford in Canada said he's going to put pause on those ads that angered the president. Does the White House have a reaction to the Canadians putting pause?
I want to give a chance for the White House and the president to be able to respond before I make news on that right now. So we will circle back with you on that.